Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Big Retro Show. This is your boy Los here talking to you guys today about 8-Bit Christmas. Now, 8-Bit Christmas is a movie that was released on HBO Max starring Neil Patrick Harris in a retelling of the classic Christmas movie, A Christmas Story. But instead of the boy in this movie trying to get a Red Ryder BB gun, he's trying to get a Nintendo Entertainment System. The movie is a fun take on A Christmas Story. It is a modern retelling, and it's something that us gamers can relate to. I know I can because I had one hell of a time trying to get my Nintendo Entertainment System. The movie is good. It is good. And don't get me wrong, I did enjoy it, but it's got some gaffes. It's got some Hollywood gaffes, stuff that would never be possible in the time that this movie portrays. And I'm going to get into that, but before I do, make sure that you guys subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any of my uploads. No, without further ado, let's get into the gaffes. Now, before I do, I want to make sure that you guys have seen this movie because there are spoilers in it. And if you haven't seen it, go and watch it. Go get yourself an HBO subscription and watch the movie. It's well worth it. And come back to this video so you can see how they messed up. Okay, so just the premise of the movie. So the premise of the movie is about a guy, a father who has a daughter. The father is played by Neil Patrick Harris, and they're spending Christmas over at his mom's house. So they arrive at the mom's house. All the while, the daughter is mad at the dad because he won't get her a cell phone. He says she's too young for it, and she really, really wants one bad. And so that sparks up nostalgia in the father, Neil Patrick Harris. And when they arrive to the mother's house, they go upstairs to his room and bust out his old Nintendo Entertainment System. So they start playing Paperboy, I believe is the very first game that they play. And then he starts telling her the story of how he too was obsessed with not a phone, but with a Nintendo, and what he went through to try to get one. So in the movie, it flashes back to when he was a kid. And during that time, nobody in his neighborhood had a Nintendo except for one kid, right? This one rich kid named Timmy. Now, Timmy is this basic rich kid. He's a douche. You know, he holds court at his house every day. He chooses 10 kids to go inside of his house to play Nintendo with him, or rather just to kind of watch him play Nintendo. Just to be around a Nintendo was a big deal for the kids in this movie. Well, the kid, Timmy, obtains a power glove in this movie, which in of itself isn't, a big deal. The power glove has appeared in movies such as The Wizard. And, in the movie, he's like practicing his hand movements and practicing his skills at Taekwondo, because he's also a Taekwondo student. And he invites all of his friends over to watch him play on the Power Glove, right? Once he's at his house, he plays this game very much like a Mortal Kombat clone. It's a game that basically doesn't exist, and I'll talk about that more a little bit later. But he finds out quickly that the Power Glove fails. And the girl that was playing against him basically kicks his ass. Now, this movie took place in December of 1988. However, the gaffe here is that the Power Glove did not get released until the year after, in December of 1989. So tell me, how in the hell did Timmy obtain a Power Glove a full year before its North American release? Now, I know what you're thinking. I know what you're saying. He might have gotten it early, but to tell you the truth, I don't think that this came out in Japan in time for Christmas of 1988. Yes, Hollywood messing up the history of the Nintendo, as we see with this first gaffe. The other gaffe is that the game that they're playing on the Power Glove, when Timmy invites his friends and he's playing against one of his friends in the movie. It's called Silent Fists, and this game is a fake game. It doesn't exist. And the casual viewer, the casual Nintendo fan, or not even Nintendo fan, but just a casual moviegoer will not notice that this is a fake game. This game did not exist. And, us as gamers spotted that right away because, we're nerds and we're interested in finding out exactly what it is they're playing in the movies. Now, I have to admit that I wasn't too sure when I saw this game, the Silent Fist, if this was a real Nintendo game, because there are a whole bunch of off the wall Nintendo titles that I have no idea exist, and so I had to actually Google this, and sure enough, this game does not appear on the Nintendo library, neither here in Japan or Europe. So this is a game that was made up by the movie director and the creator, and so is it a big deal? Probably not. To us nerd gamers, yes, it is a big deal. They shouldn't be faking the funk. I mean, come on. The other thing is that there weren't very many, well, I would gamble to say that there were no two-player games in which you can just, pick up a controller and have somebody be on the Power Glove and play two players at once. That was another gaffe involving the Power Glove, and yet another gaffe involving that whole Power Glove sequence is that they totally had that Power Glove hooked up incorrectly, because anybody who has had a Power Glove knows that the Power Glove came with sensors, and it came with a module that you plugged into the Nintendo. And then from there, the Power Glove would, plug into the module, and it would need to be calibrated, right? But in the movie, there was no sign of these sensors anywhere on this television. So let me ask you, how in the hell was this Power Glove working on this game, this fake game? Gaff. Definitely a gaff. So the other gaff that I want to mention is the whole thing with the Cabbage Patch dolls. And I know what you're thinking, Los. What in the hell are you talking about? Cabbage Patch dolls. Well, in the movie, the little boy's sister wants a Cabbage Patch doll. Mind you, we're talking about December of 1988. Now, if you've been around long enough, you will know that the Cabbage Patch dolls were just crazy, okay? There were wars started in malls across America to obtain one of these Cabbage Patch dolls. And right around the same time as the ColecoVision was making its rounds, the Cabbage Patch wars were brewing in malls all across America. I mean, at one point, I believe it was in 1986, that sales of the Cabbage Patch doll topped $800 million. It was hard as shit getting one of these Cabbage Patch dolls. You couldn't find one, and people were going nuts. It was very much like that movie Jingle All the Way, where people were fighting over this. They were scrapping over it, and people were getting arrested. People were getting hurt. There was violence involved surrounding the Cabbage Patch doll. That was when this craze was happening. By the time 1988 rolled around, sales had plummeted to zero. It was no longer the hottest toy around. In 1988, nobody had ever heard of the Cabbage Patch dolls. They weren't a thing. Nobody was playing with them, and it was easy, very, very easy to get one. But in 8-Bit Christmas, this girl, and this is 1988, mind you, the year when sales plummeted to zero, in the movie, the little boy's sister really, really wants a Cabbage Patch doll. And so what do? The family gets in their car and goes to the mall, where they find a store that has a section just full of Cabbage Patch dolls. And when the little girl walks into the store with her family, all of the shelves are bare. They're all bare, not a Cabbage Patch doll to be found. And the guy cleaning up the area, the aisle, says, "Sorry, but they're all gone. They were gone in 20 minutes." Highly unlikely. Maybe in 1986 and prior when these things were at their peak. But in 1988, nah, bruh, you're not fooling us who lived through the Cabbage Patch Wars of 1986. Yes, the shelves wouldn't have been barren. These dolls would have not been sold out in 1988 within 20 minutes. So in the movie, the father and son, they get in their car and they go to a dark alley and obtain a Cabbage Patch doll from a scalper, okay, who charges them $100 for the damn Cabbage Patch doll. Now, I'm pretty sure you can tell Cabbage Patch dolls are the ugliest dolls you will ever see, guys. They are the butt ugliest doll. I thought that today, and I thought that back in the day, and I had to wonder why in the hell were these parents tearing each other apart for a stupid looking doll? Oh my gosh, guys, I can't tell you. I was so perplexed. And this movie, I think, maybe they didn't know any better, but those of us who lived through the Cabbage Patch Wars knew that the Cabbage Patch dolls weren't a thing in 1988. They just weren't. And that's when this movie takes place. That's another gap, guys. Okay, so also in that same mall trip, all right, the boy makes his way to a Nintendo kiosk. Okay. And at that kiosk is a Nintendo for display, and it's calling to him. It's saying, "Come, come play me. Come, come. Enjoy the wonderful Nintendo Entertainment System and come and play me." Well, I have to tell you guys that some of the games that they had for sale at this kiosk were not available during that time frame. In 1988, games like Narc, Super Off-Road, and Arch Rivals hadn't even been released yet. Narc was released in 1990, Super Off-Road was released in 1991, and Arch Rivals was released in 1990. A full 2 years after this movie took place. That's another gaffe, right? And it's another thing. They had these games on display at this kiosk for people to pick up, but these games wouldn't have been around in 1988. There's no way. I think that the producers try to pull a fast one on us, guys. And that's why I'm here, guys. I'm here to tell you. I'm here to inform you that there are some gaps in this movie. So don't believe the hype. Okay, now this is the last gaff that I'm going to talk about. And the gaff involves the gun, the zapper, so to speak. So when the zapper, when the zapper first came out, when the Nintendo came out, it was gray, and it was a wonderful gun. You could play Duck Hunt on it, Gumshoe. You can play all of the Zapper games on it, and it was fun. It was fun. But in 1988, the federal toy gun law was signed into the United States, and the design was sorry, that was my email, but the design remained the same throughout 1988. You didn't get the orange gun that you saw in the movie until way after December of 1988. So it's not possible that he could have seen this Nintendo at the store with that orange gun because it hadn't even been created yet. There's just no way possible. And that's, again, that's just another one of these gaffes in 8-Bit Christmas. Now, I have to admit that, these gaffes are funny. They're funny to me, right? But at the same time, I think that, they're kind of cute. They're kind of cute because, the producers are trying to enhance the story and trying to tell the story. And they did tell a good story. I did enjoy the movie. I did. But I couldn't help but to point out these gaffes because, coming up in that time, I knew what was available and I knew the trends and I knew how it went down. Right? But anyways, guys, after revealing all the gaps in this movie, I want to say that I did enjoy it. It was a good movie and I highly recommend it. You will like it if you have HBO Max. Go and watch it. Go and watch it today and let me know what you guys think of this movie. And again, guys, don't forget to subscribe to The Big Retro Show. Let me know in the comments if you've seen this movie and knew of these gaffes. And if I missed any gaffes, and I probably did, I don't know. Let me know in the comments and make sure you give this video a thumbs up. And until the next one, guys, I will see you on The Big Retro Show. Have a Merry Christmas, guys. Peace.